Welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the Moon Griffon Show. Folks, last night, big victory for the taxpayers. Karen Carter Peterson nuts up and start bringing Scripture and God, and then, boy, could I eat her up. But, we got a lot of heroes in the Republican Party, no Democrats that I know of, and a bunch of Democrat wimps. But we got people that stood to fight. And I got one on right now. Lance Harris joins us. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent, Moon. How you doing this morning?
All right, Representative Harris. I want to thank you on behalf of the taxpayers. As you know, I've been doing this for 25, I'm in my 25th year, and we got an economy that the GDP is negative, not for 1 year, for 2 years. Now, they say a recession is 2 or 3 quarters in a row with negative GDP. We've had 2 years of it. And I feel like a lot of lawmakers do not understand what I just said. And because you've seen the numbers, we've talked about this with you and a lot of other people, that our economy is growing about half of what state government is, and it's not working. And yet last night you guys were the heroes. You guys fought off massive tax increases. I want to thank you, but I want you to tell us in your own word what went on last night. And Representative Lance Harris joins us.
Well, Moon, we've been working on this for years, that we have said we are not and will not and should not grow the size of government when we're having a retracting economy. Look, the population is static. We have a negative GDP. We have wages just in the report 2 weeks ago that are going down.
Negative 2%.
And yet the Louisiana state government continues to grow. I'll give you an example. Actual spending in FY 2017 was $9.1 billion. Last year, after we lost on our budget, it went to $9.46 billion. This year, had we funded everything last night, it was going to $9.6 billion, which is a 1.6% increase to $151 million more dollars. And that's not all. It would have raised the total means of financing budget to $34 billion, $586 million more dollars than the year we're in right now. So, yeah, we fought it off. We said, look, we are going to try to right-size government. We consider giving every department wants not to be the right way, because all that does is sets us up for another fiscal cliff next year, because government will grow again and grow again. We have to start adjusting the base. We have to start reducing the size of government under the existing expenditures that we have at this date and time. And look, is it comfortable? No. But it's got to be done, or else we will not be able to keep up with the size and growth of government.
But see, that's the problem. For the last 10 years or 14 years, you've seen the charge state government's grown twice that of our economy. Now we're seeing out-migration again. Now we're seeing a negative GDP when the rest of the country, for the most part, is booming, doing well or booming. We're going in the opposite direction. We got lower, you just mentioned income, down almost 2%. I mean, those numbers, they can never, no matter how much Karen Carter Peterson talks about God and what we're doing, the bottom line is, you can't, in fundamentals and financial fundamentals, the engine that drives the train is called economic development, jobs growing in the small business, the medium size, and the big businesses. Then government can have some of that. But if it flips, government has to do the same thing the economy's doing. It's contracting. Government has to contract. And I think that's what you guys have been saying now for a couple of years, actually longer than that.
Absolutely. And look, we tried to do that this year. Last year we tried to do it. If you remember, we appropriated 98% of the projection.
Sure did.
This year, our plan that we put forth, and that my bill yesterday, had it passed with a couple other things the Senate had done in the budget, we would have done a mere tiny 0.7% reduction in state spending. Now, think about that. We would have reduced the state general fund spending from existing year by $63 million. And we can't do that. We have to have a big fight about funding it more and growing it by 1.5%. That's just, to me, is not the direction we need to go.
But, Lance, what you're talking about gets lost in the rhetoric of the printed press, which continues to go with the governor and the left. And that's the problem. What you're talking about is the truth, and they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with spending. They just don't want to deal with spending. They want everything to keep going up, and our economy can't support it, and I think you said that earlier. Let's talk about a couple things. In the regular session, if I recall, y'all passed a budget that funded health care and nursing homes that we heard all the crying and bickering about. Didn't y'all pass, and that was one budget that got vetoed. But last night, when the session ended, didn't y'all pass a budget too?
Yeah, we did pass a budget.
So you passed it. Talk about that first. We did pass a budget.
Okay.
What did it fund?
Well, it's funded DHH. I mean, it has actually given them quite a bit more money than they got last year. So DHH that's the Department of Hospitals, is fully funded. But the way the Senate sent it over was they do above and below line, which is a lot of detail to get into, but basically pro rata cuts on all the other departments. So because nothing got funded last night, and see, that's another thing they were saying about the budget. It funds this, it funds that. No, it doesn't. You don't have any revenue to fund that, so, but there is enough on the plate to fund DHH, but there's some severe cuts in higher education, in TOPS, and some of those other programs. So that's how the Senate sent it over. They wanted to get about over $500 million to fill the holes. Our plan was less than that. It was right at $400 million, and unfortunately it fell apart and the wheels fell off.
But here's what's funny. You guys have passed two budgets now. I've taken it the governor's going to veto it again. You guys have passed two budgets that have funded healthcare and hospitals, all the whining and crying. I even had a CEO on here doing the same thing. All the gamemanship, all the games played. The governor vetoed that, probably will veto this one. Yet you guys have funded some stuff. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm not an anti-TOPS guy, but if I was on TOPS and Lance Harris came to me and said, look, I'm only going to fund it at $80. We were giving you $100. I'm only going to fund $80. I'd be happy I'm getting $80. I mean, I'm serious, and I'm talking about TOPS.
Right. Well, and that's going to be something that we'll be discussing when we get back in special session. But let me give you an example, man. In the budget that we passed last night, and now this was the version right before we passed it off the floor, the Department of Health, okay, from in 18-19's budget is going to have a total budget increase of $445 million. Okay, we have got to get a handle on that. We cannot continue that. State general fund spending in the Senate's budget was $63 million more than last year. So
in an economy that, and by the way, let me say it again, in an economy that's shrinking.
Absolutely. And that's the big monster we've got to get a hold of. And if you'll remember, Tony Bacala had a bill out here to try to do the eligibility requirements. Just let the auditor look at and compare the tax information to what your application is on Medicaid. The fiscal note said we could save maybe up to $100 million a year. Yet the administration thought that bill got killed over in the Senate. You want me to extract new money out of you, the taxpayer's pocket, to apply on top of that kind of inefficiency and grow government? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lance Harris, by the way, one of the heroes of last night that stuck to his guns, stayed the course, and tried to right the size of government, which needs to be done. Health and hospitals, which, by the way, if tell me if I'm wrong, if you look at the last budget since Bell Edwards been in, the biggest growth we have in the budget has been the Department of Health and Hospitals, and by billions. And they'll tell you that's all federal money, and it's not all federal money. It's costing us state money to go get federal money.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, those chickens are going to come home to roost in the future, and it's going to cost us year after year out of the state general fund if we don't get a hold of that department and look at some efficiencies.
Oh, no doubt about it, Lance. I think you're right on the money. But you passed two budgets, and let me throw some. Let me sum up this session to me. I'm watching this last night. I'm getting texts. I'm going back and forth. I'm watching it with different people around the state. And what it looks like to me, and if I'm wrong, correct me, okay, because you were there, I was not. It looks like to me y'all presented a plan. But the co-governors, the Democrat, and some Republicans didn't like the plan because you didn't tax the citizens enough. So really, the budget went down last night. Not the budget, but the whole thing kind of went down last night because they decided you're going to give us everything we want or it's going down. They made the decision to kill whatever funding and stuff that was put there because they didn't want to go along with y'all plan. They want all or nothing. They wanted it all or nothing and basically shoved that in y'all face and said, you're going to give us what we want from the taxpayers, from the businesses, from the people, or we're not going with it. And then they did this, and now you're getting blamed for it.
Right. And look, I can go over what exactly happened, but, you know, our plan would have probably ended up with every instrument that we had in play around $459 million. That included my bill and some others. But look, I told the governor yesterday in a meeting, which was in his office before we even started the day at 9 o'clock, you don't have the votes for a half a penny. You just don't have it. We can do this 1/3. I think, you know, that's the way to go, but you don't have the votes. He said, well, if I don't get the half penny and this other plan, I guess we'll just go home then. And I came out and tweeted and put on Facebook, the Republican delegation is at 1/3 a cent.
Yep. And
I have informed the governor at that. I don't think the votes are there. And naturally, knowing the tick like I do, they didn't have the votes.
Yeah.
And they ran with LeJay's bill, which is a whole nother story how that got done by the Senate, which was quite extraordinary in my opinion.
Let me take a quick break. Lance Harris, Representative Harris, talking about yesterday, one of the heroes last night. You're going to see him get beat up in the newspaper and by these elected officials, but he was one of the guys that stood the test of time. When we get back, I want to talk about part of the budget I think was in there. Any new money coming in would fill these holes. Let's get back to Lance Harris right after this break. Yeah, see. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-76-6607. Hickson is at hotline. Representative Lance Harris, one of the heroes last night. We preached. Lance, I've said sincerely, me and you don't agree on everything, and that's good. But, you know, you guys fought the fight, and I watched it, and I heard from people left and right, and it was just great to see guys actually fight. Now, let me throw something else at you. And I don't know if it was in this budget because, I mean, all this stuff's going over and over again. Wasn't part of the budget process, and it was in the budget or was on another bill, where what you do is go ahead and pass the budget, and you're going to be short where you spoke, quote, got to make cuts. But if any new money was recognized by the Revenue Estimating Conference, that money would go to fill a budget hole. Talk about that.
And and what they had above and below line. So basically last night, and I hadn't seen the finished product, so some of this may be just a tad off, but when the money comes in, if we had funded last night, there were priorities that would be filled up first. Then whatever was left over was going to be pro rata cut out of the departments underneath, like whatever departments were left in the Senate budget. They would take that money that was left over and pro rata divide that amongst the departments. And then as money came in, you would start filling those holes pro rata.
Okay.
So that's how the Senate sent it over to us. It's called above the line and below line. And
okay.
It's really kind of crazy how they sent it. I would much rather know what we should do in the process is have the revenue, what you can work with, and then you do the budget and fill the holes as your priorities dictate.
Yeah, but that makes sense. And if they recognize in money, then you just start filling the holes with the recognizable money that's recognized over a period of time. Now, one of the other things. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. What's your question?
No, I was just asking about that because I thought, okay, that's a neat deal. So if you $200 million short of $250, everybody says you have to cut, but you got a whole year process to do it in, and you can get money recognized. If I'm worried about the money recognized for the simple reason I know what our economy's doing.
Right.
And so
exactly.
There may not be any money recognized. The reason it was recognized last time is that means we overtaxed our people, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And people need to realize we ended up with $156 million excess in the year we're in now. We hadn't even closed the year out yet. We may end up with a surplus. Who knows? And then last year we ended up with $106 million surplus. But remember, the big fight was the governor wanted to use $100 million of the rainy day fund.
Correct.
And we fought, and they won on that again because people got weak. And guess what? We took the $100 million in rainy day fund, basically moved it to a surplus.
Yeah, and that's for the press, the printed press, who keeps blaming y'all to make it sound like, look what Edwards is doing, and he only did it because of the extra money that was rolling in from the extra taxes they raised. It just doesn't make, Lance, it doesn't make any sense to keep going in that direction. It just really doesn't. But then, one of the other things to remember, during the first special session, and I'm confused when I say the first one this year. I want to make sure we're on the same line. But the first one this year, if you would have went along with the governor's plan and what the press told you, and it passed all the taxes he wanted, not only would he have all the money he has now, he'd have another $500 million. $500 million on top of that. So people got to understand, they were trying to overtax us to death during these special sessions, and people need to realize that.
Absolutely. And so by us holding out to this point and continuing to do so, I think it's starting to slowly but surely change the rudder on the ship to start getting out of this 90-year-old social long-era government and start looking at efficiencies and start basing our decisions on economy growth in the private sector too.
Yeah, the private sector is the train, is the engine of the train that moves everything. If for the last 10 to 14 years we've grown state government twice the economy, that's why we got a GDP that's in the negative territory for 2 years. And, Lance, I think 2 or 3 consecutive quarters of negative growth is called a recession. What do you call 2 years? I'm just being honest with you. I'm trying to help our business people out. That's what I'm trying to do.
And just look at the Lafayette area. They've lost almost 14% retraction in GDP. $11 billion, I believe, is the report I saw 2
$11 billion.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then you want to tax the people while they're in that shape. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, the whole state overall, I know we got some pockets that are doing well. We need taxes to come off of businesses so business can prosper. Our migration, look, all that stuff I believe y'all fighting for. Y'all fought the good fight. I don't care what they put in the Jim Beam piece or Gannett paper. The fact is, doing what they want to do is causing the problem. The Medicaid expansion has a lot to do with causing this problem.
Absolutely. There's no question about it.
Yeah, if that was an economic engine, why ain't we booming? You remember somebody wrote an article to LSU and said, this is an economic engine. It's created 20,000 jobs. I'm going, what? If that's the case, everybody on Medicaid. Lance Harris, God bless. Hang in there, man.
I appreciate you, man. Y'all take care. See you soon. Thanks a million.
Lance Harris and those Republicans that fought the fight were right and are right. We'll take a break. When we get back, Alan Seabaugh, who had an interesting, he's a hero. He's being called a hero now. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Celebrating last night's big victory for the real conservatives standing up. We just talked to Lance Harris. The next one in line for you is Representative Alan Seabaugh from the Shreveport-Bossier area. Alan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing a lot better knowing that we got somebody watching out for the taxpayers. We got plenty of people to watch out for more government, but we don't have enough people watching out for the taxpayers. And I felt like you and some of the hard-nosed conservatives that are trying to do what's right did the job last night.
Yeah, it was a team effort. I mean, I had guys like Blake Miguez and Ray Cruz and several of them working with us, and we had a strategy on how we were going to do this, and we let them bring the bill up for a vote. I mean, we didn't try to. I keep reading that we wouldn't let them vote. That's not true. We let them bring the bill up for a vote. It didn't pass.
Yeah.
And they tried to. Lance's bill didn't pass. Walt's bill didn't pass, and they were trying to give Walt a second bite at the apple. And we simply objected.
Let me do this, Alan.
To the floor and ran out the clock.
Let me do this. I'm going to play about 2 minutes of what happened last night and let you explain it. But we're going to play it so people can hear what you did last night. And you're also going to see Nancy Pelosi. My bad.
Nancy Pelosi.
What's her name, Brandon?
Julie Stokes.
The same thing. Julie Stokes.
Julie Stokes.
Yeah, Julie Stokes. To me, it's the same person. And the person that's carrying the water for the governor, who's a Republican who wants to be the next Secretary of State. But I want people to listen to this.
Regular order number 4, House bills were presented with amendments. Representative Stokes.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to make a motion to reconsider HB 12, given the fact that we did walk this through and take a vote on Representative Harris's bill. Please vote yes so we don't come back to another special session.
I'm trying to object.
Be patient, folks.
We have a motion to reconsider with an objection. Representative Harris, on your objection.
I object.
Perfect.
He walks away
The
smiling.
lady has reconsidered the vote.
Perfectly
On House
said.
Bill 12. When the clerk opens the machines, all those in favor vote yes.
You know what you're doing. I mean, you're just going to... You want to
Representative
That's
Harris has
Representative
objected.
Stokes.
All those in favor vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The clerk will open the machine.
That was Nancy
Vote your
Pelosi.
machines,
So,
members. Vote your machines.
Alan will be coming up. Chill out, folks.
Are you through voting? Clerk will close the machine. 56 yeas, 48 nays, and the motion is passed. Representative Leger.
Vote for the bill. 1159, members. Avoid the special session.
For a question, Representative Seabaugh.
Crying about. Here we go.
For the floor on the bill, Representative Seabaugh.
That's Nancy Pelosi. Folks.
Members, we just voted on this bill. It didn't get 70 votes. I rise in opposition to the bill. We've already voted on it. We've been here. And yes, I am trying to run the clock out.
Yes.
Because we voted on this bill before. It didn't get 70 votes. The body has spoken. I object to bringing this bill back up. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, but...
There are none.
Okay. Yes, I am. Yes, because we've already voted on this once, and it didn't get the votes. Yeah, that's fine.
Representative Leger, you have a right to close.
Right, come forward.
He waves. Members, it is 12. It is 12 a.m.
Yes, it's 12 a.m. All right, Alan, take us through that because a great job. As a matter of fact, even Jeremy Office says anti-tax and small government fans found a hero in Alan Seabaugh. By the way, I'm not anti-tax. I'm anti-gigantic tax, and that's where we are now. And I don't think you are either. But you're all for smaller government. Just take us through the process.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, the budget that we passed is, I'm not sure after everything comes out, I think it's going to be the second biggest in Louisiana history. All this doom and gloom about stuff closing, it's all not true. Nope. I mean, the bottom line is, it's funding priorities, and John Bell is going to die on the hill of Medicaid expansion, which was completely unnecessary, and we can't afford it.
Nope.
What we were doing there is simply, trying to not give them a second bite at the apple. The bill had already failed once, and I knew I didn't have too much time. I wasn't sure exactly what the official time was, but I mean, I'm not pretending that I was doing anything other than trying to filibuster and run it out till midnight.
Well, no, but you said that. You said that 2 times. You said, this is what I'm trying to do. And somebody said, you're just trying to run the time out. You said, you're right, I am. That's what I liked about it was honesty right in the face of the left. And, of course, Julie Stokes, who I call Nancy Pelosi, is one of those leftist Republicans that's carrying the water for the governor. Why don't she change to be a Democrat, run for the office as what she is, and let's see what happens, because she was totally against what you were trying to do and what the conservatives were trying to do.
What she was doing there is trying to make sure Walt didn't run for Secretary of State. Her biggest fear is that Walt gets in that race because then Julie wouldn't have a constituency. So what she was trying to do there was carry the water for Walt to try to earn an ally so maybe he won't jump in the Secretary of State race.
Yeah, the other thing that's number one. Let me give you the rest of the story. She knows her base will be the heart and soul of the Democrat Party from John Bel Edwards to Walt Leger to the Black Caucus. That's her voting base, why she runs as a Republican, as a woman, telling people I'm a conservative woman Republican so she can play all sides. But look at her voting record. Look who she stood with last night. She was not standing with any conservatives or any Republicans at all that I know of.
No, she wasn't at all. I mean, you had a small group of us, Rick Edmonds, Blake Miguez, Ray Cruz, John Stefanski, Reed Falconer. I mean, there was several of us that were right there in the mix, and then you had Cameron and Talbot, on the other side, and Lance on the other side. I mean, we knew what we were doing, and we were working together. And there's a good core group of solid conservatives. Some of us older that may be on our way out, and some guys like Miguez, who I think has a very bright future. If when I step out of the legislature, I think, Blake's going to be the one doing this kind of stuff, and he's got a very bright future. The difference between Blake and me is people like Blake.
I'm getting a kick out of that. But no, they don't like you now because you did the truth. And the deal is, though, Alan, Representative Alan Seabaugh, my special guest. Alan, the difference is, for 10 to 15 years, state government's outgrown our economy 2-1. Now we're seeing the benefit. We're reaping the reward of that. While every state has a positive GDP, for 2 years in a row we have a negative GDP. Our income's down. Our migration is continuing. Businesses are leaving. Those are facts. Okay, you can't if your base of tax base is shrinking, business and individuals is shrinking. You can't keep growing government. Our negative GDP, I'll make a prediction, this year's going to be the same way because we're not doing anything different. Y'all been trying to do something different through the Jindal years and through the Edwards years, and y'all get beat up all the time. And we went with the Senate budget over and over again, and it's been a failure.
The negative GDP, in my opinion, is because of the taxes. It's because of
Medicaid.
The governor's war on business. It's because of Medicaid.
Yep.
And with his baseline budgeting formula, we have to raise $400 to $500 million of new taxes every year just to stay even.
Yep.
And that doesn't work. Louisiana cannot afford that. And he's gonna live or die on Medicaid expansion, which he did completely unilaterally. The legislature didn't do that. He did it with the stroke of a pen, and you have healthy people who can't get health insurance and can't get treatment you have sick people who can't get treatment because they put so many healthy people on Medicaid, people who can afford private health insurance, people who had private health insurance and moved off of it to go on Medicaid just to prove a political point. And the point he's proven is that Louisiana's broke, and it's because of him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Medicaid, they tried to spin this through a report that came out of LSU that it's creating jobs, it's an economic boost, our economy's up because of it, and all that's a lie. When all that started, when his taxes started, when that started, when they sue in the oil and gas industry, you get to $80, $75, $80 a barrel, you can't do nothing and create jobs anymore in the oil and gas industry. That's all on him. That's 100% on their leadership. And yet you got people in the printed press that will not tell the truth about it. This is when all this started of negative GDP. We're negative. Matter of fact, 2 or 3 quarters of negative GDP is called a recession. What do you call 2 years?
Yes.
This is directly on him.
The governorship of John Bel Edwards.
Well, it's no doubt about it. The's no doubt about it. Anyway, look, let me
neighboring states. Well, all our neighboring states' oil and gas industries are flourishing and thriving.
Yep.
And ours is stagnant because we got a governor who's declared war on the biggest industry in the state, and he's told the local municipalities and everybody to sue him, and if they didn't, he'd step in and do it. And when those companies are looking where to put their investment dollars, they're not running towards John Bel Edwards. They're running away from him.
No.
People want to know why the economy's shrinking. It's because he's chasing jobs out of state.
Well, he's chasing jobs, and the more Medicaid they take, and I heard we got the friendliest program of all. We allowed all these people to get on it that are not sick. They just took advantage of how cheap it is. So in some cases, it's free. Alan Seabaugh, Representative Seabaugh, one more break, and we'll come back and visit with Alan a little bit more. Appreciate you, candid. You being labeled a hero by the taxpayers. I don't know about the big government people, but the taxpayers are saying thank you. We got to take a break. Hello, welcome back, Moon Griffon Show on our Hickson Has It hotline at 844-766-6607. Hickson Has It hotline. Representative Alan Seabaugh joins us. And, Alan, once again, I can't thank you from the bottom of my heart from trying to do what's right as they try to grow government. I was talking to Harris earlier. You realize if they would have went, if the body would have gone with John Bel Edwards' tax scheme in the first special session, and I mean the one this year, not the first one because we're in 6, 7, 8, whatever we're not in now, he would not only have all the money they want this session, they would have another $500 million to play with, and which I call is re-election money. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that was the thing. When the first special this year, we didn't raise taxes. One of the newspapers did a story saying, we should give our per diems back because we didn't do anything. I think we did a lot. We saved the taxpayers of Louisiana $500 million of unnecessary tax increases. I consider that a pretty good day at work.
By the way, if the session cost us $750,000 to save us billions of dollars, I think it's a pretty good deal, too.
I think it's a pretty good deal. I think we did our job. And Jay Darden was on Keel in Shreveport this morning, and he kept referring to Walt's bill as the compromise bill. Well, lay the scene here real quick. The governor wanted $650 million. The Republicans wanted to give him a zero. So how is a $650 million bill a compromise?
Yeah.
It isn't. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah, but that's
Lance's
what
bill was $400 million. That was the compromise.
Yep, no
Lance's bill was the compromise.
No, their bill was, and let me ask this question because I heard this. Now, Lance said it's true. That really it came down to y'all are bad people, y'all are bad guys, okay? And what happens is they didn't want to take the compromise that you just mentioned. They wanted all or nothing. So they basically killed it because they wanted all or nothing. And that's what we have. We have well, you do have a budget, but the bottom line is it's all or nothing with them. And they've been like that because they don't want to compromise. There's no compromising on the left with Darden and the co-governor Edwards. There's no compromise.
Now, since John Bell has been there, in the 3 years he's been governor, he has not moved $1 or 1% toward the House or the Republican position on any negotiation, on any bill at any time since he's been governor. He has not compromised $1 on anything. It's been my way or the highway. The first special this year, he said $944 million or nothing.
Yep.
So we gave him nothing.
Yep.
This time he said $650 or nothing. So we gave him nothing. So now he's going to call us back in again. I don't know what his number's going to be, but what's the definition of insanity? He keeps calling us back in and we keep giving him nothing. So we'll try again. I really didn't think we were going to be able to hold the line this time. I didn't think we were going to be able to do it the first special. But we're 3 sessions now in a row that we've, fiscal sessions, not counting the regular this year, where he's put all of his tax proposals out there and we've passed nothing.
Just think about this.
At some point, even somebody as dense as John Bell has to figure out the people of Louisiana don't want to pay higher taxes, and he needs to get his fiscal house in order and figure out how to run the state on what he's got.
Alan, we can't afford to pay any more taxes. We have a declining economy. Now, listen, I think it's – now, look, I didn't know where you were with the Constitutional Convention. I'm 100% against it. For right here, we're talking about it right now. Had the special session been able to vote with a simple majority on taxes, we would be screwed. We would be screwed. And I still think in the Constitutional Convention, you may say, well, it never happened. Lobby, business say it never happened. But I'm telling you, the left, when you get in the Constitutional Convention, is deal cutting. And the deal's going to be cut to get rid of the 2/3 vote. It needs to be hard to raise taxes. Bill Edwards would have raised $8 billion if he could have. He wouldn't have. They could care less about the economy. They could care less about the gross domestic product, the GDP. They don't care that people are leaving. They don't care that our income's going down. Those are actual numbers that are really hit when he came in and expanded Medicaid and started pounding on oil and gas. He doesn't care.
I think that's blatantly obvious. He doesn't care. And all he's going to do is threaten to cancel college football and throw grandma out of the nursing home and, close medical schools and universities and whatever else he can come up with. I don't know if he's going to sign the budget, but if he does, I bet he line items things like TOPS and vetoes all TOPS funding. He's going to do stuff like that because, that's just who he is.
Yeah, but you know what? Even TOPS, think about TOPS. And I told this to Lance. If you told me today, look, we only funded TOPS 70, 80%. I'd be okay with that, because if you're gonna give me $100, if you're gonna give me $100, but then you're gonna tell me I can only give you 70, 80, and I'm gonna tell you go to hell, that would be like John Bell Edwards. I'm not getting it all, so I don't want nothing. That'd be stupid. And that's what the governor and the co-governor is Jay Darden, and they're doing this together. This is doing it together with the help of the printed press.
No, there's no question. If Jay Darden has any credibility anywhere in the state of Louisiana outside the governor's office, I don't know where it is. He's such a shill.
Dude, 15% of the people, less than 15% of the people supported him as governor. And he gets to play governor. That frustrates me. And his retirement's going to be $14,000, $18,000 for the rest of his life. His ship came in when he knife bit her. It's a fact. That's what happened.
And you have so-called Republicans like Julie Stokes and Rob Shadowin and several of those others who bend over backwards to do whatever he wants, give him whatever he wants. And look, here's a newsflash. Rob Shadowin's district is considerably more conservative than mine is. I'm representing my district a whole lot better than he is. I can promise you that. If the people of Ruston, Louisiana knew what Rob Shadowin was doing, they would run him out of town on a rail.
They know what he's doing. They know what he's doing because we're letting them know every day. If they decide to keep that as a representative in office, a liberal leftist Republican. By the way, there was a Facebook post, and they said it's gone now, where either him, his wife, or somebody made the comment, well, we're really Democrats, but to win, we got to be Republicans. That's what people ought to be mad about. Julie Stokes is the same way. Hey, Julie, run for Secretary of State as a Democrat. Run as you are. Run. Don't be a hypocrite. Run as you are. She can't do that because, she'll get smothered.
No, that's absolutely correct.
By the way,
that is.
By the way, let me go back to one other thing because I want, and you'll be able to answer this. Let's just say that Governor Edwards got every tax he wanted in the first special session. That's the first one this year, not the first one, because we've had 27 of them. If he was $500 million ahead of not only what he wanted, tell me what would have been fixed in the state. Would we have fixed our roads? Would we have fixed our unfunded accrued liability? Would we have fixed our school system? But name something we would have fixed. I didn't say finance. I said fixed.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, cause he's shown when what drives me crazy about the narrative and the mainstream media won't report it. We don't have a deficit. We don't have a lack of money. We have more money than we have ever had before as a state since he's been governor. Ever. And any problems that the state of Louisiana has, it is not because of a lack of money. It's because of misplaced priorities within the governor's office and where he wants to spend that money, and the fact that he's insisting on Medicaid expansion and all of that other stuff that that we just simply can't afford. And so we're kind of stuck. I mean, we got one more year. I don't know who's going to run against him, but my goodness, he sure is making it easy.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, Alan Seabaugh. Alan, thank you so much. We'll do it again. Thank you for the fight. I know you still got one left in you, it looks like. By the way, 2 budgets have been passed. He's vetoed one. Let's see if he vetoes another one. In other words, they want all or nothing. And I think you proved that. Alan Seabaugh.
Has any governor vetoed 2 balanced budgets in 1 year? I doubt it.
No, how about vetoing? It's worse than that. How about vetoing 2 balanced budgets in 3 weeks? 3 weeks. The hell with the year. 3 weeks. Point. All right, man. Thanks for the call. We'll do it again. By the way, Cameron Henry coming out at 10:35, and we'll have a little fun the next 30 minutes. Don't go nowhere.
Ooh, Mo, wait till you hear Moon in the next
Karen Carter Peterson
segments.
nuts up and starts getting religious on us and talking about God. So I'd love to talk about the Lord. We'll talk about that when we get back. Going back and forth on this earned income tax credit, and it almost got out, and they flipped a couple votes last night. One of them was Stuart Bishop, who voted for it, and the other one was raising taxes, y'all. And by the way, raising taxes, y'all, John Paul Cousin raising taxes, y'all, he's the one who told me after the first session, we got them now. We got them now. They're going to have to deal with us. And I said, Mr. Cousin, they got you. You gave them a temporary tax, and we wouldn't be having this argument without that stupid temporary 1-cent sales tax they passed. And I tried to tell him that, and he was already smarter than me. So raising taxes, y'all, flipped last night. He's one of the votes that flipped and voted for the earned income tax credit to give money to people that didn't deserve any more free money because they're already getting enough freebies. He was one of the ones flipped last night, him and Stuart Bishop, to give more money. Just give people money. Making it easy to be poor. So raising taxes, y'all. How's that working out for you? 844-766-6607, Hickson's hotline. All right. Last night, after it was all over, Karen Carter Peterson, the head of the Democrat Party, went to the podium. Now, Karen Carter Peterson is the one who would like to get rid of the Second Amendment. So I'm putting this because I'm stating real ignorance here. Listen to this. She's going to start off slow. Then she's going to crank up. And then she's going to talk about God and throwing God in this. And yet she represents a party who believes in killing innocent babies. It's okay. Changing the definition of marriage. It's okay. Keeping people in inner cities and poor and using their vote to stand on. It's okay. And people that don't go to work, giving them more money is okay. It's okay to keep taxing people to prosperity. But this is her. Brandon, how long is this?
It's about 5-6 minutes.
Okay, but I want to play it. I want y'all to listen to this, and then you can comment if you want to.
It's early in the morning now. It's nice to see y'all. I hope somebody has breakfast ready. I'm looking for some grits and some eggs and some bacon right about now.
Some free.
Looking forward to seeing you real soon. That's a little sarcasm. You know, the people of Louisiana should be really disappointed right now. We had an opportunity for the first time the Senate was presented with a fiscal bill in revenue and fisc. We had two instruments that we had the opportunity to offer the state of Louisiana some options. And I want to thank Chairman Morrell. The chairman did all that he could do with what was presented, because as everyone knows, the Constitution only permits us to move on revenue-raising measures with what is presented by the House. And so we're limited in that way. And so, Chairman Morrell, I want to say thank you for what you did, or tried to do, in the committee collectively. Republicans and Democrats, yes, I'm a Democrat, all that's great. It doesn't matter, though, when it comes to the people of this state. And repeatedly, we have disappointed the people of the state of Louisiana. I am embarrassed more than anything else at 12:04 a.m. I'm embarrassed. We have to go home, and tomorrow morning we're going to have emails and phone calls, and we all have to own what a few people in the House of Representatives did, because they're selfish. They are callous in their disregard for human beings. Because if you cared about human beings, not just health care and higher...
Stop. I got to stop because it's going to drive me crazy if I don't. For one thing, she says the people disapprove of what they're doing there. And I don't. I think we finally got some real work in this past few days, especially yesterday. She doesn't understand what an economy is. She doesn't understand what the GDP is. She doesn't understand growing government twice out of the economy doesn't work. She doesn't understand because she doesn't want to understand. This lady has no clue. This is the head of the Democrat Party who said, I want to get rid of the Second Amendment. This is the woman preaching to us. She mentioned the fact she's embarrassed. If you're embarrassed, do us all a favor. Go to hell home. Go home, Miss Peterson. Go home. You're not a servant of the people. You're a servant of yourself. And far as calling a few people selfish, what do you think you are? Taking money from people in an economy that's not doing well? That's selfish. What you're doing is selfish and callous. Telling me that you need more money to give to who? I'm telling y'all, this is the heart and soul of the Democrat Party. This is the John Bell Edwards Party. All right, let's go, Brandon. If you can find it.
Because if you cared about human beings, not just health care and higher education and TOPS, if you cared about them, you would not continue to demand that we, as legislators, I know y'all think we make a lot of money. And then somebody writes an article about our absences on certain bills. I'm a very hard-working legislator, but yeah, I miss some days here. I miss some days because I have a job.
Okay, you have a job and you miss some days. Who cares? I don't care if you miss days. Matter of fact, when you're not there, it's a blessing. And if you're worried about your other business, carry thy rear end home and go to work. I don't care about your job and your well, I got to work, and people write an article when I'm there. Who cares? I don't care it doesn't matter what you think. This lady is so far off the wall. Head of the Democrat Party. I want to say it again. Let's roll, Brandon.
Outside of Louisiana legislature that pays the rest of my bills. But I love public service.
Stop right there.
And I'm going to be...
You're not a public servant. You're a public nuisance. You're not a public servant. A public servant doesn't just take from the private sector that's dwindling. You got to use some sense the good Lord gave you. Keep going.
Be here whenever it's demanded because I asked the people to send me here. But you know what? I can't do that without regard for my family and the needs. And you can't keep asking of us, particularly those of you that have children, Senator LaFleur, Mr. Chairman, who missed 9 baseball games. Mr. Chairman, you...
Okay, here we go again. He's missed 9 baseball games. Tell him to quit. Go home. I mean, this is so stupid. Mr. Chairman missed 9 baseball games. No, people missed the whole season for their job. Don't do it. Go home.
You missed 9 baseball games, among other things, and you have a wife that's unhappy. I remember you mentioning that.
Go to a counselor if your wife's not happy. Very, very simple. Go home. Be with your wife. See, I've been telling y'all, when these good people y'all like so much are such good people, don't send them down there. Vote against them. Let them come home. Let them come home and be around their family. Yeah, he's got a wife. Almost everybody, man, there's got a wife. Or wife has a husband and a family. It's always been the process. Why do we have 27 special sessions? Because we hadn't taxed the people to death enough. See, I'm telling you, this is crazy, lady. Go ahead.
Many of you, Senator Boudreaux, has a daughter that's going through many personal issues, health issues.
Folks, I know. I got the problem, too. We all do. It doesn't make any sense. Here we go with the personal. We're here so long. Tell Bell Evans to quit calling special sessions, Brandon. They wouldn't have to go. All right, go.
And I think that sometimes there's a disconnect between what we do here. We think it might be cute, and it's fun political gamesmanship. But at the end of the day, every time you press red or green, it impacts somebody.
Yep, taxes do that. Taxes do that. Every time you raise taxes, our economy gets worse. Absolutely. She's correct about that. By the way, some people like the stand-up guy walked out of votes, but that's another story. Go ahead.
It has an impact on a life. And what Representative Seabaugh did, I suspect you think that you were representing your district by ending the legislative session, the 6th special session.
Stop right there. He was representing his constituents. He represented everything that he said he would do to stop the crazy habits of raising taxes from people like this lady, Karen Carter Peterson. He did do what he wanted to do, and he did what his constituents. If everybody was doing that, Karen, you would never win a tax increase ever again. The majority of people are Republicans. They thought they were voting for conservatives. All right.
On a note like that, I suspect you think you were representing your district well.
He was.
I would offer to you that you were not.
But let's take a poll.
And the reflection of what you did was really disrespectful to the people of Louisiana.
You know why we got Republicans that own the Senate and own the House? It's because that's who the people that put them in, and they put them as the conservatives, and not one Republican ran on raising more taxes. This lady's ludicrous. This the lady wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. One more, Brandon, and we're going to have to take a break.
I hope tomorrow you make an apology. I hope you sleep on it, and you apologize, and you come back with a different spirit. I don't know if you're a Christian.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, folks. Now Karen Carter Peterson's going to play God. And who's a Christian and who's not? It's Christian to believe in abortion. It's kill a baby. It's Christian to believe in alternative marriages. It's Christian to take poor people, stick them in the inner cities, and use them. That's Christian. That's take taxes from people more and more and more. That's Christian. This lady's getting ready to tell us about God, folks. You may want to listen. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hey, y'all, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. All right. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. All right, we're going to continue with the leftist Karen Carter Peterson. Now, you people who think you believe in God, from a lady who supports abortion, alternative marriage, keeping people in inner cities, taxing people to oblivion, getting rid of the Second Amendments. Now, let's see how many of you stand up for the Christian way that she believes.
You might be Jewish. You might be Muslim. I don't know who you are and who you serve. But I serve a God that is able. And I really believe, because I pray daily, that at the end of the day, as a faithful servant, we all wish that at the end of the day, I was hoping at the end of this day that we could say, well done. But today we can't say well done.
I think it
There's
was.
more work to be done. And the faith needs to meet the work. And right now it's not meeting. There's no correlation. It's all rhetoric. We need to get our business in order. Remember who you serve.
Hallelujah.
It's not each other. There's only going to be one judge. And you can play this stuff here in this chamber, but there's one judge. And you have to answer to him. And you remember that. It's not Karen. It's not the president. And it's not the speaker or the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. You have to answer to him. Do some introspection.
And some recollection.
Try to do what's right by the people.
Raise taxes.
This is one of the most embarrassing moments in the 18 years of my legislative career.
Quit.
To go home.
Quit.
And have to tell people, I'm sorry.
For what? You didn't raise taxes?
I'm sorry I let you down.
You didn't raise taxes?
Again.
You didn't raise taxes. Is that it? I can't handle much more ignorance. All right. Number one, you got to answer to one God. Well, that's true. So God wants us to raise taxes now, folks, according to the woman, this woman. God wants us to bring the faith of believing in raising taxes that will put us on a new path, and we've already raised $2.8 billion under this man's watch. See, when you start doing that, you can at least use it in the way the good Lord meant it, not what this woman does. Get rid of the Second Amendment, a God-given right. Kill a baby. Kill a baby. Where can she show me that in the Bible, to kill a baby? Where can it show me that in the Bible? That taken from people who work and give it to people who don't want to work. Why is that biblical? No, what you do is, see, she has nothing else to say. Clueless Peterson, and that's what she is, Senator Clueless. Senator Clueless Peterson throws this rhetoric out there. And all it is rhetoric. And she's claiming everything else. You know why she's mad? They did not get taxes raised. They did not help the governor to try to win re-election by raising taxes. And that's it. Clueless Peterson, Senator Clueless, is clueless in every shape, form, and measure. They've made judgments based on what the people send them to make. And the judgment by most of the representatives is we have a failing economy, a GDP that's down, and we can't afford to raise any more taxes. We can't afford any more freebies. We can't afford to make it easy for people to be poor. We have to get away from that. We've tried that, Senator Clueless. We've tried that, Senator Clueless, and it hadn't worked. And we've tried it for 40 and 50 years. It is still not working. And Senator Clueless Peterson wants to continue going the same path that we've been going all this time and telling us God wants us to go in that path. I mean, holy cow. That's what this woman said to me. Maybe she said something different to y'all. We'll take some calls when we get back. Matter of fact, we've got Cameron Henry will join us as well. So we may squeeze in a couple. All right, you're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Had Lance Harris on. We had Alan Seabaugh. Now we want to jump gears. Appropriations Committee Representative Cameron Henry joins us, who was in the fight as well. Cameron, how you doing?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Well, Cameron, the budget was passed last night. Nobody's talking about. You passed one in the last special session or regular session, and the governor vetoed it. And now you passed another budget. It's not getting a lot of play. Let's talk about that first. What did the budget do? And it did get passed, and will the governor sign it?
Well, right now the budget appropriates, if you're talking about just state general fund dollars, about $8.9 billion. Overall budget is about $32.8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you include statutorily dedicated funds, federal funds, the whole bit. It funds LDH, Louisiana Department of Health, is $63 million more than last year. So they actually have an increase. Higher ed has about a 3.8% reduction. They have about a $100 million reduction, and their budget is roughly about $2.5 billion.
Wow.
We had a TOPS. Obviously, it's not funded the way members would have liked. It's funded at 70%.
By the way, let me stop there. I'm okay with that.
Better than what the governor had done at 20.
No, but I'm okay with that in the fact that, okay, if I was going to get $100, you told me you can have 70, I wouldn't do what the governor and them did. I'd say thank you. What they did is said, you don't give us all the taxes, we'll blow the budget up, and I think it was blown up on their side, basically. The whole legislative session was blown up on their side because they wanted all or nothing. Am I reading that right?
Oh, no, that's exactly. I mean, Representative Harris' bill, though a lot of members didn't love it, that was the compromise. That was a somewhere happy median, or as happy you were going to get from that body. But it's an all or nothing attitude, and this is the second time they've done it, and, they wind up getting nothing. Yeah. And it doesn't benefit the taxpayers, it doesn't benefit members, it doesn't benefit the process for us to continue going up to Baton Rouge to hear the same thing over and over again. You hear that LDH is about to run out of money and kicking people out on the street, and you push a little bit harder and they come up with $40 million, $50 million in savings.
Yeah.
They're going to have a significant surplus this year when you look at their old total means of finance of almost $745 million. That's federal funds, but there's a lot of money out there that you have to really push and push and push and beg and plead with administration to get you this information. So I think that's one of the hesitations members have at raising all of the money.
One of the bills y'all got passed that he vetoes was an opportunity for the legislature to get all the information about money and budgets like the governor does, and he vetoed that. That was a good bill for everybody because y'all can see exactly what the governor gets to see.
Correct. That was a bill by Jay Morris, I know, had brought it up, and the administration fought it. I think what's important for your callers and your listeners to understand is that the only information the legislature gets from about these agencies is from these agencies. We don't have some other mechanism to do that. So we're counting on them to give us information that in some cases would allow us to cut their budget or reduce their budget. So, government is never going to give you the information necessary to reduce the size of government. Just as taxpayers are never going to give you the information to say, oh, this is why you should raise our taxes. It doesn't work that way. But from the perspective of the government side, we've got to come up with a better mechanism of being able to share all the information. Representative Morris tried, and obviously the governor didn't think it was necessary for us to have all of the specific information.
Cameron, I guess Representative Cameron Henry, my special guest, who's chairman of appropriations, I guess you got to be a little shocked. You pass a budget that has over $33 billion in it, and they tell you, hell no, it's not enough. That's got to be frustrating on your side.
Well, it is. It drives me crazy that the debate is over. We're debating somewhere between $500 and $700 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we're excluding the $32 billion that we already have out there. That's the discrepancy right now. Somewhere between a little under $500 million of what I think House members what they were comfortable with, to what the governor wants, which grows by the day, which is close to $600.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of that, you're still appropriating $32 billion,
yep.
And they make it seem like all of state government is going to shut down,
yep.
And that's just not the case.
Yeah, they act like that's chump change. That I was told by, I don't know if it was Seabaugh or one of them said that this budget is the first or second most money we ever going to spend, ever, and it's not enough.
Yeah, it should, and it won't be enough. It'll never be enough for government. For this administration, you cannot give them enough money. And I promise you, if we do another special session, if he vetoes this bill, we will come back next year, and the governor will say why we need to raise even more taxes. And he's going to include a whole other litany of things that need to happen or that won't happen if we don't give them more money. It's, he doesn't, this administration does not have the ability to talk with members, work with them, and meet in the middle. It's all or nothing. They have no ability to count votes, so they continue to make members vote and bleed on votes that, we got 70, we got 75, they come up with 65,
yeah.
63, 64.
Yep.
It's just an unfortunate position that they continue to put members in.
Well, and I also credit Darden for this because you got a lot of slick talking going on. I remember it was early this year, they started with, how did you solve the $2 billion budget crisis? Well, we raised $1.41 billion and we cut $645 million, which was not true. You know yourself. When you start talking about cutting 100 or 200 million, people trip out. But the governor cut $645 million out the budget, and nobody said one word when he did it. That's all bogus claims, Cameron.
Right. That's the part where the governor was very disrespectful to Senator Hewitt.
Yep. That's it.
On, their means of finance swaps, and what you listeners have to understand is besides state general fund dollars, these departments have self-generated revenue, which obviously means they generate themselves, or fees, and they also have statutorily dedicated funds.
Sure.
So they can swap those things out for general fund dollars or backfill if they have an excess. That's one of the things that is growing right now. The self-generated fees, statutorily dedicated funds are growing in these departments. They just don't want to spend them. They're growing, and they would rather use taxpayer dollars. They'd rather use state general fund dollars, and that's the part where we're having the discrepancy with all these departments. You have self-generated revenue, you have fees, you have stat debt, then spend it. That's what the purpose of it is.
Yeah, but I get upset when I hear somebody say we only have $8, $9, $10 billion in general fund, which is a true statement. But you got all those other fees that create another $8 or $9 billion, and they don't ever talk about that. And that's grown. I mean, our state budget is still 58% self-generated funds. And I'm getting worried as we go more federal government. And you know as well as I know, Medicaid has crushed us. It's crushed us financially. It's crushed us to be able to do more stuff with the money we got coming in. It's crushing us, and we got a lot of people on Medicaid who don't deserve to be on it. I'm not talking about sick people. I'm talking about people who don't deserve to be on it.
Right, and that's a big fight which we've tried to get the administration to do is if not for individuals who are in a predicament where they cannot, we got that. That's what Medicaid's for. But the individuals who have chosen, who are employed, who've chosen to drop off their private insurers and go to Medicaid, that's what the state cannot afford. We've got to have more people working. As we always said, we have a jobs deficit, and that's. I don't know where the taxing business is, and continuing this fight that the governor has with the legislature actually is going to benefit the state long term in getting businesses to show up here.
Well, look, the bottom line is GDP is down for not 1 year, but for 2 years now. It's a direct correlation. When this governor came in, expanded Medicaid, and all of a sudden we get all these new taxes. We got and then they go after the oil industry, and so there's not no investment like it was in the oil industry. So all those combinations have set our state backwards and headed backwards. You can't have a shrinking GDP and grow government. It will not work that way. I don't care if you're matching money like Medicaid and other federal programs where you match and get 1 or 2 or 3 times the deal. You're still using state dollars to draw that. So you got it. Where you get that money from? And that's what people got to understand. He's devastated our economy. He really has by himself.
Right. Oh, and everybody's excited that oil is going up per barrel. That somehow or another going to usually means that the state's going to generate some revenue off of that. That's not the case right now because production is so low. The oil and gas industry is either moving on land, number one, and in the Gulf they're not drilling because of all the lawsuits. So oil can continue to go up. Our production is so low right now that we're really not receiving as much revenue as people we used to do when production was a lot higher.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's going on. Anyway, we'll take a break. We're talking to the chairman of the Appropriations, Mr. Cameron Henry. We'll take a break and be back. One more segment to go with the guy that fought last night with a few other ones that really made a difference. We'll take a break. Be right back. Griffon Show, great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline where you get the rest of the information. If you're picking up your daily newspaper and believing everything they said about the session, you can be very confused about what's going on. So the guys, the major players, all right here on the program this morning. We will visit with Speaker of the House Taylor Bauer either tomorrow or Thursday. Hoping we'll get him an hour. He'll get a different insight as well than Cameron and the rest of the guys, but we want to bring him on as well. These guys need to be heard from. because I know what they're doing in the press. And we're talking to Representative Cameron Henry, Appropriations Chair. By the way, Cameron, I say that honestly because I'm watching and reading. I notice the left, and I include Julie Stokes and people that are Republicans that are on the left, Rob Shadron, they're nutting up. They're going crazy over one thing. They're not negotiating with y'all. They killed the session. They're the ones that killed the session, not y'all. Y'all put things out there because it looks like to me they have a mentality of we want it all or we want nothing. But like Jay Darden was on Keel, the co-governor, and he starts saying the compromise was $650 million. Well, that doesn't sound like the compromise if y'all had 400.
Well, no, that's you have to understand is this: they like to talk about compromise, but they don't know how to actually do it. That is the flaw, one of many that they have, is their idea of a compromise is do exactly what we want you to do.
Bingo. That's why they're nutting up, because y'all didn't give them everything they wanted, so that gives Jim Beam and Tyler Bridges and the nut from Gannett Hilburn, they get these guys an opportunity to go write stories and only put half-truths. And when they interviewed everybody they interviewed, even Republicans, Julie Stokes and Rob Shadron and all these people, they sound just like the left, and they start blaming y'all. And I tell you what, I thought it was a great day for Louisiana taxpayers. I don't know about the people that get money from government, but from the real taxpayers and the people that provide this economy, I thought it was a big win.
Well, it would increase the budget if we would have passed the bills that they wanted passed. It would have increased the budget $423 million about.
Mm-hmm.
It's the amount of money that we're discussing here. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. It's direct taxpayer dollars, and it doesn't provide you an opportunity to catch up. The way that we spend, regardless of the revenue we raise, we'll have to raise more next year. And until we start reducing our spending by 3%, 2%, whatever it might be, just a little bit along the way, it'll prevent long-term reductions in programs. Mm-hmm. That's what the public doesn't understand. They think we're to cut and destroy everything. No. To maintain it, you have to have the revenue to do that. And at a certain point, which we're pretty much at right now, that revenue, is kind of tapped out. I haven't had any constituents call me and say, hey, do me a favor, raise my taxes more. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, by the way, can you tell me what Republican you ever saw ran on, hey, we're going to raise taxes when we get in? Matter of fact, you don't even see Democrats say they're going to raise taxes. They won't say it because they don't want to get beat.
No. Right. I mean, no one goes in with the mindset of we're going to see how much we can raise taxes. I think members at times can appreciate the fact that their cost of government grows, and we have to maybe offset that at some point in time. But you don't offset it every single time by raising revenue. You have to go back and look at your own expenses and start reducing your expenses.
Well, let me throw some
type of a balance.
Let me throw something else at you. Now, I hadn't heard anybody say this on the floor. Maybe y'all talking about it because I can't hear every word. Why is there nobody, and if they are talking about it, let me know, talking about the GDP negative growth for 2 years, the only state in the country that's done that for 2 years? Why are we not talking about our incomes down 2%? Why don't we talk about the out-migration? The only reason our unemployment came down, Tyler Bridges, who was the press secretary for Edwards last year, now it's Jim Beam. How come he wrote an article saying the only reason our unemployment's gone down is because of out-migration and people quit looking for work? I mean, somewhere along the line, these representatives and senators, some Republican but a lot of Democrats, have to realize the train that drives this is our economy. Without an economy, without customers and businesses and people working, there's no money for government. There is no money for government. And so if that part of the equation is shrinking, how can you have growth in government? And I'm talking about gigantic growth, a $32 billion budget. Is anybody talking about this, Cameron?
Well, I'll give Representative Lance Harris credit for that. He has been trying to get members to understand that in his debate of why he's trying to get some revenue passed, not all, because of that. I don't think it's sunk in yet with members. I think members are still kind of just going off the standard rhetoric of this is the best way to save the state is to raise more revenue. But until you get more employment here, we're going to be having this conversation over and over and over, and that's the problem. It's a jobs deficit. And until this administration puts forth an effort to get to increase the jobs here, we're going to be having this debate for a long time.
By the way, I sat down with them back in, I don't know, January, February, and told them that if you don't be a different type governor, this is a failed governorship. I call it co-governors. Failed. It's already failed because they're not trying to do anything different than everybody else that came before them. And I'm telling you, I looked at them and said, it's got to be about businesses and jobs and small businesses growing. And that needs to be the heart and soul of this state. You'll have plenty of money for government. But if you don't do that, we're headed in the wrong direction. That was before I knew that the GDP has not only went down 1 year, but 2 years. And so they're not focusing on what we need to do in this state. The whole focus is on how do you grow state government? Well, let me tell you something. If state government can make our economy grow, don't you think we ought to be booming at this point? We ought to be booming.
I mean, we'd be number one.
We would be kicking butt and taking names, and people would be dying to come here, but that's not happening. And our tax base is not growing because, and look, as it gets smaller, that piece of pie gets smaller, there's less for people. You know what I'm saying? It's less for people to have.
Yeah. It's less for people who actually need it.
Yep.
That's the difference. It's less for the people who actually need the services that the government's providing. And in the big picture, when you continue to move the path we're going down, is you're spreading those services, those limited services, over a larger group of people, some of which, really don't qualify for it. The ones that do, we should be taking care of. If it's the ones that don't, that have the ability to take care of themselves, that we have to move them in that direction, and quickly.
Well, I'll say it again. I think what we've done in the state is we're making it easy to be poor. We're making it easy to get free stuff. Well, guess what? When somebody gets it, they're not going to want to give it up. It doesn't make any sense, the direction. We've not made one change in direction under this co-governorship we got. We haven't.
This administration picked up the same strategies as the last administration.
Absolutely.
You bring every school, university president down there, nursing home, now waivers, and you get them to try to pass your agenda. You threaten them and force them to come down and be your lobbyist because you don't have the skill set or the relationships nor the desire to build them to get stuff done. I mean, to say that the Republicans didn't go out on a stretch out with chairman of the delegation authoring a tax bill, trying to sell it across party lines, doing everything he possibly could, you're not going to get much better than that.
No,
you really don't. And I don't know what a special session, another one, a third, a fourth, whatever he wants to do. I don't know what changes on that because they're not getting organized before these sessions. They're just calling them and hoping everything works out.
Oh, no doubt about it. And like it was said earlier, you got to have 70 votes. He's getting 62, 65, 66, 63. That's not leadership. That's nowhere near leadership. And it's a shame it's like that.
Correct. And they just lost Gene Reynolds, who that was his last day. So Gene Reynolds' seat is vacant, and Gene Reynolds had supported some of these revenue measures in the past. He's going off to work for the lieutenant governor's office dealing with state parks. He's gone now. So that's one less vote that they have. So, you're kind of chipping away. So that's where we are.
All right, Representative Cameron Henry. Cameron, we'll probably talk to you very soon again if a special session pops up, and all the negative that's coming out of the media is phenomenal. But anyway, good luck. God bless. Thanks for the fight.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, folks, quick 22-hour break. We'll be right back. Hold your breath if you're a liberal. We'll be right back. Unbelievable, folks. We're going to grow the government as the economy shrinks. Not too bright. Karen Carter Peterson. What a joke. Anyway, we'll be right back in 22 hours.